welcome to the Bounce Back Better podcast. I'm Hilary Saxton. Today we're talking about you've still got time. It's never too late. So what happens? What happens to too many of us? We've pulled into that car park of life where we settle for mediocre and we think, and you reflect on your own life. Have you ever caught yourself saying something like, I wish I'd done that 10 years ago. I wish I'd started that 15 years ago. Well, you're not alone. I wish I'd started that last year. I wish I started that 6 months ago. You are not alone. No matter what it is, you'll have that time-pressing regret. And I want you to remember that not only are you not alone, you're stuck like many other people, and you can get out. Me alone starting this podcast. Oh my goodness. Just this podcast. I started it 3 years after I'd started it. I launched it once, put out 3 episodes and pulled it. And then left it for 2 or 3, I think 3 years before I came back to it. And yet it was a really big goal of mine. And do I wish I'd started it then? You bet I do. But I didn't. And the crazy thing is, for many reasons, I didn't do it. I had all those fabulous excuses of like how I wasn't good enough and people would judge me, and I was too old to do that, and I couldn't understand technology, or I was all of these things. Who am I to be giving life advice about how to have a better quality of life, have a better life? Look at the stuff ups I've made, all of that sort of thing. But you know what? It's the best thing I've ever done because I impact so many people on a regular basis. And maybe you listening right now, maybe you are impacted by me as well. Or maybe you impact somebody else. But there'll be something in your life that you regret not starting earlier. And for me, this podcast was one. But there have been so many other things. Even my book, writing my book. Oh my goodness. Leaving that relationship. Oh my goodness. That should have happened way before. But I was just stuck in, I don't know, in that comfort zone, even though I don't like it. And that's what happens for many of us. We might not like where we are, but we stay stuck there and don't make the changes required, as I talk about so many times, to change our life and do the thing that we want to do. So really, this is the mindset thing, isn't it? We don't do something because we feel like we've missed the boat. And it's all up here. So many people have done things at different times later in life, or even you could be even 25 listening to this and wished you'd started something when you were 21. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 60 and wish you'd started something at 40. None of that really matters, but up here we start berating ourselves and start feeling disappointed in ourselves because we didn't take those steps that we wish we could have taken. And so this episode is about teaching you really about it's never too late. Just draw that line in the sand. Oh, I wish I had a copy of 3-1. Draw a line in the sand. It's in the opening few pages, and just step over it and press your reset button and start again and do whatever it is that you want to do, whatever that thing is. And if it seems scary, well, we're going to unpack this whole podcast today on how you can, leave the dock, untie your boat and actually get moving and start heading in the direction that you want to, pull out of the car park. And I remember talking to a mentoring student that joined our community, maybe a month or so ago. And she said to me, Hilary, I'm finally pulling out of the car park to do that thing that I want to do. And I was amazed. I was like, go you. Using that analogy, I've parked up for a while and this is my time, because it's never too late and there's no point in feeling disappointed that you haven't done something. Just start from today. Stop putting things off. So where does it come from? Where does it come from, that belief that it's too late? Because it's actually a lie. It's called the belief lie, would you believe it or not? You're lying to yourself. And it comes from you thinking that you're too old or too young to do something. So you give age a reality. And again, that's a mindset thing and it's not true. It's a lie. It comes from society. Maybe society says you shouldn't be doing that. Somebody your age, too young, too old, too this, too that. Society said that you shouldn't because you're not the perfect demographic or type, or you don't fit that mold. You don't fit that stereotype. I wonder, as mums, sometimes our own children get a little bit, well, don't do that, mum. Don't, when easily you would do something and maybe we're stopped by people who want to hold us back because we need to fit their mold. You don't have to fit the mold. You come unmolded. You create your own mold. You be you, however you want to be you. The other thing that stops us moving forward, that lie, that the too late lie, is past failures. And we've all had them, haven't we? Oh my gosh. Be it the small things from a dinner disaster to a bad date, to the wrong job, to a terrible event, to wrong editing, to I'm just going through my last week, if you want to know, just going through the things that I considered a failure. And maybe I'm tough on myself. Maybe I'm quite tough. And maybe you are too. So what we see as a failure, other people would see as a success. And that stops us moving forward. But these are all the things that support that too late lie. So I've said, age and society and past failures. And what about the mother of all killjoys, comparison? Oh gosh, we've got to kick that one to the curb, don't we? Comparison has to go. We have to stop comparing ourselves to others, especially, and this is what happens, especially social media, because it's fake book, it's fake news, it's not true. People put their best picture up. They don't wake up in the morning and put that crap picture of themselves up, or their terrible family holiday, or the argument they had, or the flat tire they got. Unless it's to talk about something funny. We don't talk about the failures that we have. We don't talk about or think about or let the world know of our meltdowns, or of those moments where you're thinking, oh my goodness. I even said to somebody today, I had a conversation with somebody, and I said, I feel like I've got a lot of negative in my world right now. There are about 5 things that have got some negative around them, and that's are having real awareness. And I know that I need to do something about that. The things that have to be dealt with, the things that are, many are out of my control, but they are things that are negative, and I don't want them in my world, and I don't want to be feeling like that. I do not want to be getting in the shower, putting water on myself, having thoughts that aren't positive or going to support me or make me feel good. And sometimes it's dealing with a client, or it can be anything, but there's a little bit of negative going around, and I don't like that. I get that life's not perfect, but I also don't want to feel like there's too many negative things. So I need to tag and release them. I need to sort them and get rid of them. I need to get them out of my world. And what I often say to people, when you're caught in that space where you're being held back because of something negative, you need to park it. And parking something I have talked about before, it's almost like you put it in the car, you hop in your car and you think, I've got it with me. And you go to the supermarket and you put your car in the car park, and you leave, or unpack it and leave it there, whatever that thing is, or leave the car there. You just leave that there and think, I can't deal with this right now. And this is only if you can't deal with it right now. I can't deal with this right now. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll come back and deal with it when I can, when I have the ability to, when I have the time to, the money to, whatever it is. So sometimes we can't deal with things straight away, but when they stay front of mind and when they start impacting us, oh my goodness, we have to do that. We have to park it. And then just to give our brain that break, we have to tell our brain when we are going to deal with it. So it might be, look, it's Tuesday. I'm going to deal with that in a week from today, or in 2 weeks, or maybe on Friday, whenever it is. So I'll leave that. I'm not going to give it any more headspace. I'm just going to leave it over there, and I'll come back to it and I'll deal with it then. And what that does for our brain's like, oh, thank goodness. Yes, I can let that go for a bit and then keep moving forward. You might remember, if you've read 3 Ones In, my book, that Jenny, she had a big life change. She decided that she was going to take up art later in life. It doesn't actually talk about her age, but she's probably in her 30s in that book. Yeah, she's in her 30s. And she decided that she was going to do night school and do art. And you might also remember that Emma had taken up writing. So there are things that you might be wanting to do. I want you to remember, it's not too late. Okay? It is not too late. Now, the next thing I want you to remember is that time is on your side. Instead of telling yourself that lie, that time is against you, I want you to think that time is on your side. And how can you move forward in life with that as a feeling that's coming from the inside that will give you the energy to move forward? Well, one of them, my friend, is to learn to step outside of that wee comfort zone you're trapped behind, because you are trapped behind one, aren't you? What happens is we get in that little hula hoop, that little comfort zone, and we stay in there because it's so super comfy in there. And even if it's in a place we don't like, we might be feeling our clothing's tight and we feel overweight, but we stay in there. We stay with those eating habits and with those exercise habits that aren't supporting us because we prefer that. It's nice and comfy. So you've got to think, where can I allow myself time to get out of my comfort zone and into the growth zone? And oh my goodness, just this to start with. Even last night, I was asked to speak somewhere and I thought, oh, will I do that? And remember, I love speaking. Standing on a stage and speaking is my thing, but it's up against my peers, which is an interesting one to go up against, because you're feeling a little bit more judged. And so that's me outside of my comfort zone. I knew I was going to say yes, but I said, can I let you know in a couple of days I need to check my diary? And I did need to check my diary, and I was pretty sure it was free, but I just needed to absorb it. And I got back to her within 12 hours, which was pretty good. And said, yes, I'm in, count me in. She sent me a big woohoo text and it all went sparkly. But that was me having to think, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and do something that I'll be looked at by my peers, not just general audience or people that love my content, more likely people who will be, yeah. So I just had that I'm going to be outside of my comfort zone. And I want you to reflect that to your life. What do you not do because it's outside of your comfort zone? So many things don't get done thanks to comfort zones. We just get stuck there and it's so difficult. And we have all of those, reasons, excuses that hold us back there that we think are valid. We're afraid and they're habitual and we've got imposter syndrome and I'm not good enough and what will people say and I'll probably fail. All of these things, they go through our mind, they're looping, we can't do any of them. There will be some things that you do. You just need to apply those same strategies, those same tactics, the same steps that you use to whatever it is that you do well, to what it is that you're not doing. So let's look at the area of your life that's going well, because either health, wealth, or relationship, I can guarantee one of them will be going well. So think of one of those or something else. Something else in your world is going fabulously. What is it? And then think to yourself, okay, what am I doing there? And let's just use the example. You feel great, you're fit, you're healthy, you get a great sleep, you look fabulous, you feel fabulous, everything's great. You've got a great BMI, you've just got energy, you're amazing. You feel and look great. Okay, so that's health covered. But then let's go to your work environment or your financial situation, and that's down the toilet. Why is that down the toilet? What strategies that are working in your health and fitness life are you not applying to your officey work financial life? So what strategies are you not using that you use in your fitness and health, where you're doing amazing, where you're rocking between an 8 and 10 out of 10, to your financial life, where you're just trying to get through on a 2 or 3 or 4 out of 10? What are the things that you do in this life that you're not doing in that life? And how could you use some of those strategies to take them over? And it's not like, I'm not saying it's about, counting the budget of what you eat or anything like that. I'm saying, what are the things that you do religiously? I'm thinking if you are healthy, you have great eating habits, you eat well. You don't wake up for breakfast and have, I don't know, a pie and a Coke. You don't eat crap food like that. And you might go out for dinner, but you take generally healthier options. And maybe on occasion you have the odd bad thing, but that's okay. But do you do that in your financial life? Meaning, do you not overspend all the time? And are you quite serious about what you use your money on? Are you diligent with your behaviors? Can you see how it's about applying strategies that work to other areas of your life? Let's look at your fitness and health again. Maybe you always, every Monday, 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or we'll say those days, you always exercise no matter what. Are you always doing something in your financial situation? Is there something there that 4 times a week you always do something? So I want you to think about the strategies that you use in the area that you are successful and thinking, how can I apply these to the ones where I'm not successful? Because you might feel uncomfortable doing that because you're inside a comfort zone of not having to deal with your finances or just living week to week. It's comfortable there. You don't want to get uncomfortable. You don't want to have to think about it. You don't want to have to work on it. You don't want to have to improve yourself, because that's stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone and doing something that is going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel yuck. And you have to remember that once we're in our comfort zone, there's a little bit of time, popping in and out of that wee hula hoop that we're behind, that I call it. It's like standing in the hula hoop. There's a little bit of time of just dipping your toe out, coming back, dipping your toe out, coming back, dipping your toe out, coming back, dipping your toe out, staying there for longer. Oops, you've just stepped out. Before you know it, you do it enough that your comfort zone becomes your new growth zone, because you've made it bigger. And you've learned to step outside, and you just, then that thing becomes your normal. Because you have to also remember the things that you are doing now that work, you haven't always done them. They started once. So where did they start from, and how did you start them? And it's really Now the question is, how can you apply those strategies from the successful part of your life to the unsuccessful part so that gets better? So back to the it's never too late to start conversation that we're having. Back to the what is it that you that you want to start, that you want to do? So what strategies from the successful part of your life can you take forward and use so you can do that thing that you always wanted to do and you thought it was too late? Because it's never too late. Oh my goodness, it's never too late. I'm a classic example of this. I'm here right now. My own timeline has not been perfect. I feel like my timeline has been so slow, but I also know that I had to learn so much on the way. And for many of us, that's the reason we don't do something. We've got to learn to grow into ourselves, I suppose. We've got to plan who we want to be, and then we've got to grow into ourselves. And when we don't do that planning and deciding that, we aren't acting or heading toward that person we want to be, getting that thing done that we want to do, doing that thing that we feel like we're too late for. If we're not heading toward that, then we just stay stuck. And how do we head toward it? Well, we just give it a go, don't we? We have to give it a go. We have to know what we want. We have to think, what's real here? What's relative? What do I need to change? What is relative in your world that you need to change right now so you can do the thing that you want to do? And then just think, right, I've got to put energy toward this. I put the energy toward this bit of my world that's going really well. Now I need to put energy toward that thing that I really want. What do you really want? That is where you put your energy now. And you might not have a huge amount, so just put some energy there. It doesn't have to take your whole focus. It can just take some of it. And then you've got to get active about it. You've got to start taking those actions. That's how you do it. And then you're going to love your life. You're going to love that life that you create for yourself. So sometimes when we haven't done the thing we want to do, it just works out perfect anyway when we do it a little bit later. It may not have been. And remember, our brain will always find reasons to make us right. Well, your brain will find the perfect reasons as to why you did it in the perfect time. So now, my friend, is your perfect time. So I want you to think about that hula hoop that I was talking about, your comfort zone. And I want you to shut your eyes if you're, well, not if you're walking or not if you're driving, but even imagine shutting your eyes and think to yourself, how comfy do I feel here? How comfortable do I really feel? And the change that I want, how comfortable will I feel when I get to that? Because it's so warm and it's so cozy and it's so predictable, but nothing new happens in the comfort zone. No dreams were realized in the comfort zone. All the dreams are on the other side of the comfort zone. All of the success that you want to achieve, your achievements or anything you want. It could be dragon boat racing, kayaking, skiing, swimming. It could be just a sporting event. It doesn't matter what it is. But whatever it is that you want, getting it is on the other side of your comfort zone. So how do you get there? Apart from just dipping your toe out a little bit and then dipping it out a little bit more, how do you allow yourself to be uncomfortable? How do you do that? How are you going to allow yourself to be uncomfortable and then think to yourself, you know what? I can do this. Well, every time you step outside of your comfort zone a wee bit, you've got to realize that if you think to yourself, I've actually made myself that little bit stronger. It's now that little bit easier for me. If you start telling yourself that, you will start to believe it. Our brains believe what we tell them. And it is true. The more you do something like a muscle, the stronger it gets. The more you repeat something scary, the easier it becomes. And this is the same, but acknowledging. Every time you do that little thing that's outside of your comfort zone, you acknowledge, wow, I did that. And then say to yourself, so now it's going to be easier next time. Do you honestly think it's going to be easier next time if you keep telling yourself it's going to be easier next time? You bet it will. You've got to talk yourself into things and stop talking yourself out of things. And that is how you build confidence. That is how you get out of your comfort zone. That is how you become the person you want to be. That is how you achieve the things you want to achieve. I work with some amazing people that step outside of their comfort zone all the time and put themselves out there. Even people in my world that will reach out to someone who could become a potential client. They're not scared. Those of you that are looking for clients, you have to ask. If you want something, you ask. Would you like to be a client of mine? What can they say? Worst thing is no. Okay. Maybe some other time. And always remember, no's no right now. That's cool. Can I check in with you in a few months and see if it's still a no? The idea around moving forward and getting the knockbacks and feeling the no's is that no is never just no for good. No is no right now. In fact, I spoke to somebody yesterday that I spoke to a year ago, and he had a conversation with me yesterday, and he said, right, I'm ready to jump into your mentoring program. We offer a mentoring program around property development. And I said, great. I said, I feel like I've spoken to you before. And he said, yeah, you did, Hilary. You spoke to me a year ago. And I just wasn't ready. And I thought, wow, how good is that when you leave the door open? And that's not the first time that happens. That sort of thing happens quite a bit. So no to you, if it's about somebody else or it impacts you in some way, a no. Just think it's no right now. You never know when that no can become a yes. But it could be anything as well. It could be you deciding to do a multi-sport event, or starting your own business, or doing a renovation, or signing up to a course, or whatever it is that you want to do. Don't leave it any longer. Talk yourself into it today. Why not? You will always have the most reasons and excuses why you can't. And it's until you choose to make that decision to move forward, you never will. And yes, it's going to be hard. There's always going to be hard bits, but inside those hard bits are the times to learn. What am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to fix it? What should I do next? How do I move forward? Ask yourself questions. How questions? How do I move forward? What is my next move? Not why questions. Why isn't this working? No. How could I make this work? What do I need to do differently? Ask yourself questions that give you the answer, not make you look back at the negative. They are going to give you the answer to the positive. And every time that you do that and make a small change and take those actions, you are well on your way to what it is that you want. So you're never too old to start again. You can start again right now. You can enjoy that. You can draw that imaginary line in the sand. You can step over it and say, I just started. And it doesn't matter how old, how young, how fat, how thin, how fast, how slow, what color, none of that matters. What matters is that you choose to start right now. And just think it's just applying little habits. We've all read Atomic Habits. It's consistently applying the small habits, the small actions over and over. And like I said before, if you looked at something that is working and you thought, okay, well, I'm doing 4 consistent things a week and I'm being very diligent about that aspect, and maybe these 3 things you're doing, how can I apply that to this area that's not working, and how can I do that? But remember, we have to know what it is that you want. So you've got to find out, what is this? What am I after? What do I need? Realize what it is that you want. And then you make it happen. You organize you to make it happen, because nobody else is going to do it for you. If you want this, then you have to do it. And then you can look at what's not working for you. Have a wee study of yourself. Hang on. Is it my stories that I tell myself? Have I got terrible beliefs holding me back? Are my reasons just absolute rubbish? Have a wee look at all of those and decide where you need to work on you. But don't overthink it. Keep everything small. Make every little thing tiny. All the little habits you're going to do, anything you need to do, keep it little. So I challenge you this week, my friends, to choose that thing that you want to do that you've been putting off. That thing that you think you can't do because it's too late. It's not too late. This is your time to shine. And I'd love for you to comment. I'm going to post this actually on Instagram. Go to my Instagram and comment what it is you're going to do. I'd love for you to do that. And then every day, take those small steps toward it. But before you take the step, stand back and think, what strategy do I need to take? What am I doing that is working here that I can apply to over there? And then remind yourself it's going to be uncomfortable. And every time you step out of your comfort zone, that is not going to be much fun. It's going to feel yuck, but only for a wee bit. And before you know it, you're outside of your comfort zone. It is easy peasy and you're on your way. It's those 1%ers. It's a little bit every day when you consistently do something, before you know it, you are so there. You're on your way and you've done it. Well, my friends, as usual, text a friend and please tell them how amazing they are. Anybody, tell them how amazing they are. And the next thing I would really love for you to do is hit subscribe if you're watching me on YouTube, or share, or do both. That would make me uber happy. All right. I hope you've got something from this week. I hope I've inspired you to, step outside of your comfort zone. Decide that now is your time. And if you'd like a copy of my book, 3 Ones, and there is a link below. But I would love to hear from you and hear how maybe I'm inspiring you to make change. All right. I'll catch you next week. Bye.